technically he's already on an island. I guess it would just be a smaller island.
Yeah, that's true. What are the beaches like there?
Really nice, like tropical, like cheaper than Hawaii, but looks similar to Hawaii. Apparently, the magic scene down there is just fucking huge.
Really?
Yeah, so pretty hyped for that. I've been selling a bunch of cards off though for the honeymoon. I'm about to go on the honeymoon in June to Iceland.
You sell some of your reserve list?
Yeah, some things. I sold a Japanese time spiral. Sold one tropical island. Sold. That's it, I think. For reserve list. But I think like fakes, man. Fakes are so like. Firstly, I don't play in any real events, so if I'm gonna play with reserve list cards, I might as well just play with fakes. It's just cheaper. At least for the most part. For like cards that I'm not ever gonna care about buying at this point. Like they've been priced out of my price range, like Abyss or, you know, like I sold off my drop of honey when it spiked to $1,100. I bought it for $80 back.
That's a nice ROI.
Yeah, I bought it for about $80 a year before it spiked. Now it's gonna go crazy because they just printed that. They just printed this, or in Horizons they're gonna put out this Academy Ruins that does enchantments. So I think that card's gonna go crazy, actually, specifically in Legacy Land. So I bet it's gonna spike. Like, but like I'm never gonna.
So they printed a new. So they printed a new Urza, and they also printed Yawgmoth. Do you think they're gonna also do Mishra?
I mean, they have a Mishra now, but I don't know.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Get another 10 minutes for people to get on, get in the stream.
You doing what? Sorry.
I'm gonna give people about 10 minutes to get online, get in the stream before I start the presentation. Let me fix it. Thanks for pointing that out.
Did you know that Mr. Miyagi is from Okinawa?
Oh yeah, I knew that.
The character, not the actor.
I knew that.
So is it Twitch TV Kurthos? Work_Kurthos?
Yeah, work_Kurthos. Tell me if you can hear the Discord, because somebody's claiming you can't.
Is it Vinland?
Okay, I turned it up. Yeah, I turned it up, so I don't know. It's not Vinland.
Yeah, it's working. There's just like about a 15-second delay. I can hear myself.
Alright, that's fine. You can mute. Either mute Discord or mute the stream. Either one.
Yeah, I'll mute the stream. Oh, but I did put in my Warlock CL application.
Okay.
Like right around the exact same time you said about shop. So we'll see if the Warlock thing doesn't pan out, then maybe I'll think about going shop.
Yeah, I mean it's an application for you, not for what class you're playing necessarily.
Dun dun dun. I'm gonna shoot a text to Ungar, see if he knows that this.
Huh?
I don't know. I was getting some feedback from Lolly. I'm going to shoot a text to Ungar, see if he can make it on here for this shindig.
Okay.
Enjoy, Kurthos.
Okay, I will.
Wait, were you telling him to enjoy, or for everyone else in the stream to enjoy him? Because
Ooh.
I'm
No,
not
I subscribe to him.
Wow, thank you.
Man, you can almost make Twitch for him.
Huh?
So a couple more subscriptions, and you can get that make that Twitch partnership.
I already have it.
My Prime sub is not available till June.
Rip. Yeah, I got mine actually came up today, but I'm saving it for somebody.
Oh, you're saving it for me? I feel so flattered.
I got some good news for people who want to stream though. And I'll talk about it during the presentation. Give people another 5-10 minutes.
Well, if we want to know now.
How does it feel to want?
He probably doesn't want to say it more than once.
It hurts. Anyone else get on the stress test yet?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just idling on it. I'm not really doing anything.
I don't have an active subscription, so no.
I've heard that doesn't matter.
Yeah, somebody said they were still inviting out to the stress test for that. Got one. Back here. Me and Tricks are out here messing around in the undead area, so if anybody else wants to.
I strafed on a hunter and I saw him walking backwards and I just walked out.
Have you noticed you can't attack either? Your
Yeah.
bow stays up.
Yeah, I'll wait until it's fixed.
Rain, get down.
Gotta get that moonwalking going on.
Your cat's name is Rain?
Yes, he's on my shelf. He's not supposed to be.
As in, like, raining from the sky, or to
Yeah.
rain over someone?
Raining from the sky.
Wait, am I seeing this slide correctly? We're going to be on an RP PvP server?
Yeah, and I'll talk about the reasoning and the plan. Why that is.
What?
There's a strategic reason. There's a couple of them.
Sounds like fun to me. That's all.
You gotta sign the petition for it.
Yeah.
The link.
Well, Whammy lied to you guys because he signed it and then took his name off after you all signed it. So
Can everybody hear me? Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, we can hear you.
No, can't hear you at all.
so glad I got to hear you.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
I've missed my murmur friends.
So is it cold over there right now, Kurthos?
It's not very hot, if that's what you're saying. It's not very
You're
hot at all. It's like maybe 85.
Trying to be all edgy with your hoodie pulled up over your face, covering one of your eyes. Straight edge lord.
No, it's.
I'll take it off. I'll take it off when the meeting starts.
Are you gonna take it
Herbie.
all off?
He's gonna take it all off when the memeing starts. Not when the meeting starts, when the memeing starts.
The memeing.
Did the meeting stop?
No,
Do
not
the
really.
Moonfire quicker tricks.
The memeing never stopped. It's a never-ending train. Train wreck, more like it.
That's correct.
Yo.
Talk about today, Kurt.
What's up?
What's the guild meeting about, brother?
It's a more general guild meeting for like non-officers. There's some other announcements and stuff that's gonna happen. Pretty big stuff, so.
Back here, church.
The old push to talk. Can't wait. It's coming. It's like a storm.
Yeah, I turned mine back on for this Discord.
Oh no, I'm talking about just the moderated push to talk. You don't have a choice.
I'm good with that too. Yeah, we should probably initiate
It's
that.
like that. It's like that in the channels below us right now.
Any way to make that change for this one for tonight?
You can't have that for all of them.
Ooh, blasted. Nah, I think right now it's set to where like nobody can talk in general. Let me fix it.
Well, I guess nobody else is gonna talk. Heh.
I'll talk.
Alright, yeah.
One.
So now it's set to where you have these push to talk.
Nice.
Should be at least. Still not working? Alright, let me a second. Let me get a second. Try now.
Looks like
Yeah, you just have to leave and come back into the channel.
Test. Oh, sweet.
Cool.
Yo.
Alright,
Okay, now we're good.
a few more minutes and then we'll go.
You guys can hear us?
Testing?
No, your mics are broken.
Thanks. That's what I need to know, man. That's what you guys are hearing. Whammy, you could come out and moonwalk entertain us if you want.
Oh yeah.
I want to see the dancing bear.
Hold your bow back like you're gonna shoot that never shoots.
Gonna be doing that in MC too.
I really hope they fix that, but yeah, that's gonna be a tough one, I bet.
Well, I don't think they'd release it like that. Broken. There's a lot of eyes on that bug.
What, the strafe? Or the auto shot or whatever?
Both.
Oh, yeah. There's no way.
So you can either mute Discord, watch the stream, or you can mute stream, watch Discord. I mean, watch the stream, but keep Discord unmuted. But I suggest you have the stream open.
I'd definitely mute the stream. Like you're gonna be like lagged if you do it the other.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So this is more of like a general meeting. If you want like a more in-depth plan or guide to what we're gonna do in Classic, you should go watch the video from last week about the plans that we have for officers and some of the more structured concepts for the guild. But this is just a general overview and some of our policies and stances on the game. And you guys can feel, I'll wait till the very end to answer any questions you guys have. So, with Classic launch, unfortunately, we're going to be retiring the name Murmur. And this is due to a partnership we've made with another organization. I'll talk to you about them in a second. So there's another organization called Final Boss, and they're a multi-gaming community. At least they're trying to be. They're just launching pretty recently. But this is their logo. This is kind of what we're going to be a part of. We're going to change the guild Discord name to Final Boss. Change some other things. Some of the things that they're going to bring along. Currently they have teams for Apex Legends, Fortnite, and they play locally at like local tournaments and things like that in the Seattle, Washington area. We're going to be their WoW Classic branch. For people who are interested in streaming, part-time or full-time, we will, if you're interested and you go through their vetting process, you will be included as part of like their streaming team potentially, if it's something you're interested in. But this is just the start of something big, and we're going to try to grow it on our end. So this is kind of some of the stuff that they've showed us so far for their plans. Like they've got jerseys made. They've attended some conventions and been part of panels regarding like esports and gaming communities and in the Seattle area. There's some like small business portions of this, but there are also just larger hobby related, community oriented things. Now let's talk about the guild. So why we chose Horde. The content is actually more challenging in Horde, at least it's a consensus from leadership between me and Freck. That's how we feel, and we feel like the game's just more fun on Horde. Wind Fury is also a big bonus. It just like melee is just more fun with Wind Fury. Playing a warrior is more fun with Wind Fury. Negatives, we have to depend on a lot of shaman for our raid comps. We have RNG totems. Assuming that we don't have the best shaman who know how to time their tremor totem, you know, that could be shitty fears or whatever. Melee heavy raid comps are typically popular on Horde side. Threat thresholds are much smaller without salvation. Paladins just bypass a lot of boss mechanics throughout the game that Shaman cannot. Shaman have one particular encounter that they're strong at, but for the most part, Paladins are definitely the bigger advantage. Now let's talk about our server choice. So Blizzard has come out and they've said that there are no RP/PvP servers. That may be the case. This was a plan before they ever announced any of that, and these are the kind of things I'm thinking about. With RP/PvP server, they're typically less. Like if you look at when they originally launched, there were like maybe, I don't know, an eighth the number of PvP servers. So what this tells me is if they open up server transfers or they consolidate realms or the population moves around, people who play on RP/PvP server are going to stay on RP/PvP servers. We're not interested at all in playing on just a normal RP server because it has the PvE rule set. We feel that players that play on RP/PvP servers are more socially driven to log into the game. They are more interested in the social aspects, so it's going to create a stronger lasting community than on a PvP server where people only log in to progress themselves. typically. They don't really log in on a. I mean, this is different on a case by case basis. So you may have friends or whatever, but normally on a PvP server, players don't continuously log in. So these are the kind of things that we want for our for the server we play on in Classic. We also don't think any major streamers are going to play on our PvP server. They're going to play on the PvP realms or the PvE realms. They're not going to touch this particularly niche realm type. So the negatives, there are no plans for them at launch. If there are none at launch, we will just roll on a PvP realm. Like, as to what time zone that the realm will be, we don't know yet. It'll be based on where like big streamers announce that they're going to play. We don't want to play on any server with a big streamer because it can result in population instability and some other problems that we don't want to have to deal with. There's also stigma associated with RP realms. Generally, hardcore players consider that RP players are less hardcore, more casual. I mean, this is kind of a stereotype. It's like saying if you're Alliance, there are more 12-year-old kids. Is that true? Do you think there are 12-year-old kids on both factions? Yeah, I mean, probably. But anyway, that's our justification for wanting to play an RP PvP server. Again, this could change before launch, and we'll probably not make a decision on which server we're going to play on until the week of launch. We probably will say, like, we're looking at these 3 servers or something like that the week we're allowed to pre-make our characters back, like, around August 13th, and then we'll make a list of like what we think are good realms to play on, and then we'll look at where all the streamers are playing to make their characters, and all the other guilds that are going to play on those realms, and then we'll make our decision. We're going to be Loot Council, so a lot of you guys have played with this as Loot Council in the past. A few of you have only played with this as DKP, but the positives for vanilla specifically gives better control over itemization for your raid. We can make progression-oriented decisions without upsetting anybody, as long as we can justify it. And we can give people gear based on merit. So if you're really doing well in the guild and you're really helping us progress, we can reward you. It can't really, I mean, you really are just rewarding attendance in DKP and like consistent attendance. If you want a flexible schedule, you're not going to enjoy being a DKP guild. If you, for example, every 2 weeks you've got to miss a Wednesday, well, you're going to have a lot less DKP than the people you're competing for loot against. But if we're able to understand that you're maybe not able to make every Wednesday, we can work with you and be flexible as leadership and make loot decisions that still are reasonable. Negatives of a Loot Council requires officers and the people on the Loot Council to know the game and know the players in the game and know each player's goal. If we're not being transparent enough, or if the players within the guild don't agree with the decisions, it could result in drama, which could result in loss of a player. But I think we have a good track record of making people happy and teaching officers exactly what kind of lead decisions they should be making. Again, this is something that is going to be a burden on the officers and the leadership team more so than the players, but players should be communicating with their class leaders as to what they want, what they're interested in. Imagine I'm a PvP player and I really want Bone Reaper's Edge, but the Loot Council just votes to give me Ash Candy. Well, maybe I'd rather have Bone Reaper's Edge over Ash Candy. If you didn't speak up to your class leader and make that known, whose responsibility really was it, Like, if the class leader didn't ask you, it's his responsibility. If you didn't tell the class leader, it's your responsibility. So yes, you don't directly buy your gear like with DKP, but you do still have an ability to determine what gear you do get and which gear you want. So don't feel like it's completely out of your hands. It's actually the opposite. Our plans for Classic, we will have multiple raid teams. we will try to establish a second raid team prior to BWL. We don't know the timeline of when Phase 3/BWL will release after Classic, but we will try to get that second team going way before. It depends on how stable our main team is. It depends on how many people level quickly and a lot of other factors, but we want to offset days between the two raid teams. So like let's say Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Team A raids, then it would be the opposite days. It would be Wednesday, Sunday, Monday, or something like that. So we want to create a schedule where you can log in any day of the week and raid. We've done this in the past with the EU team and NA team on private servers, but with NA servers, we will be able to create multiple NA teams because we'll have a larger recruitment pool for NA players. We will be able to support that. I'm aiming for a roster of 200 players before launch, and right now we're at 130, so we're going to definitely make that mark. And if we assume that 200 players, just 50% of those guys hit 60 within the first month of the game being out, we still have enough to field 2 raid teams. We may not have the perfect raid comps between the two, but we will be able to do so. So it gives flexibility between hardcore and casual players when it comes to schedules. If you're a hardcore player and you want multiple alts, you want multiple characters, you have that ability. You can play multiple lockouts a week. Even though only when one core is available, you're able to do that. Not many other guilds are going to be able to compete with this. We can control world boss spawn. So Phase 2, that's when world bosses are going to start spawning. We're going to have greater control. We're going to be able to get members on more quickly than other guilds. And we're going to be able to be more competitive out in the world. Phase 2, when world PvP is happening, we're going to be able to field major world PvP teams that other guilds are not going to compete with. They maybe have a 5-man team when we have a 10 or 15-man team out there. Lockout combining. So this is going to be a rare occasional thing that's going to be done for progression potentially. An example of when this might happen is 4 Horsemen. We may combine 2 teams that have been raiding Axe for a month, and we'll combine in order to do some attempts on 4 Horsemen, or if we feel like we can kill it, because you need 8 tanks who are pretty decently geared. So 4-piece tier 3, you need like a special trinket for spell hit capping. But what happens to all the other guys from like the excess raiders? Well, these guys would still raid. They may not clear as much as like they normally would, but the intent is the guild will progress. And this is for recruitment purposes, because a guild that's progressing faster is going to have better recruitment. That's going to lead to overall better players in the guild. That's going to have you're going to be looked at differently if you're the server first guild clearing this instance. Other guilds are not going to have this capability if we have 2 or 3 raid teams. And we'll also have more gear than other guilds for considering rare items like DFT, Stylings, Rejuve, and F tier. Negatives is going to be a lot more work for our leadership team, and we're going to have to have more engagement in general and more things delegated than would normally be delegated in a normal guild. Greater number of officers and classers have to be promoted. Higher numbers of players are going to be required for recruitment. We're essentially going to be 2 or 3 guilds worth of people. And this may sound like a Zerg guild to some people that are watching, but the intent is to dominate whatever server we're on, whatever faction, whatever server. And we can't speak to how that'll play out because we don't know just how big the populations of the servers will be. They mentioned, like a Blizzard employee has mentioned that there will be the system called layering during the first phase, and each layer could contain up to 3,000 players. If our faction has 1,500 people on it per layer, and we have 3 layers of 4,500 people, that's a lot to compete with. But even so, we have the ability to be more dominant than other guilds. There will be a lower initial expectation of player when recruiting, and they will be required to prove themselves. and that would be done through. Most of you are familiar with how we do promotions based on core rank, like having attunements, pre-raid enchantments, things of that nature, would be a requirement to be promoted or be taken like more seriously within the raiding environment. And we have the ability to teach anybody who needs to know. Like there's gonna be a large number of players coming from retail that have never touched the game. That doesn't mean they're gonna be bad players. It means that we need to teach them the metagame. We need to teach them the content. This is a burden on our leadership, and honestly, on each player who has experience. They should try to teach somebody something as much as possible. It'll just make the guild better. I'm not saying make every 5 man a lecture, but I'm saying, if you see somebody doing something wrong, point it out to them. If you feel like it's not going to rub their ego the wrong way. It's definitely an unorthodox concept. Overall, having multiple raid teams, having such a big guild is not normal, and a lot of people are going to be turned off by that. All we have to do is show them that it's a successful model and that it will work, and I think it'll change minds. And then there's also stigma around there being a Team A or Team B, whatever, but really this is just tribalism at work, and it's not a reality, right? Like, for example, I'm going to probably insert myself into whatever Team B is forming just so I can ensure that it's being run smoothly. And I'll probably take on more of a leadership position than the Team A. That's not to say that Team A will become worse, but the intent is to always keep them equal. There should be an equal amount of skill in each team. There should be, you're going to have people that are better at certain classes or whatever, but we're supposed to be a team. Yeah, it's supposed to be even spread of skill. So, alright, so some of you guys want to play some meme classes, right? You're going to play Feral Cats, Moonkin, Hand Shaman, whatever. It's our opinion that you never play these classes. But of course some people want to do that, right? They want to make something viable that's not viable. They want to play something because they want to be special. Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you how to have fun in your game. But you have to understand, by being given a raid slot in any given raid, you could be limiting our progression just by being there. You could be potentially harming anybody who's raiding with you. Because imagine you're the first enhanced shaman in the raid. Okay, you're probably useful in that role. Imagine I have a second enhanced shaman, or a third, or a fourth. Well, there's definitely a diminishing return in our ability to clear content at that point. Oh, rip. Here, I'll turn my cam off.
You told me I could go prot DPS. You lied to me.
Best DPS.
So anyway, I can give you gear for these classes and specs. I can let you play them and farm content. I can let you, I don't mind you having fun every now and then. But when it's time for business, it's time for business. And I don't have room. If we're progressing next, I don't have room for this. If we're progressing BWL for the first time, I don't have room. If you get sat, you cannot be upset with the guild or me or whoever's making that call. If you're a Moonkin and you don't get an F tier ever, you can't be upset. If you want to play in a guild that's going to give you an F tier, that's fine. They exist. Go find them. But this is not that guild. And I'm sorry to say that. But, yeah, Enhanced Shaman, Elemental Shaman, Feral Cats, Moonkin, any other meme you can think of, probably don't have room for that in this guild. At least not progression-oriented, and especially without, extreme dedication to it. And also, if you're interested in playing one of these specs, I highly suggest you go download a repack of Nostalrius or Lights Hope or one of these other servers. You can download, you can install it on your computer as a local server, and you should just give yourself whatever you think the best gear possible for that class would be. So give yourself loot from Kel'Thuzad, give yourself a Atiesh or whatever, Hand of Rag, and then go beat on Patchwork for 5-minute parses with full consumables and full world buffs, and then show me you can do real numbers. If you can show those numbers to me and prove me wrong, then okay, but otherwise I'm not interested. And again, we're not going to treat you like you're special. We will treat you just like anybody else who also shares a role with you. So if you're a Moonkin, we'll treat you as a mage or a warlock. We'll expect you to pull the same kind of numbers they can. Same thing for melee warrior. You will be expected to play like a DPS warrior, like a fury warrior, not an arms warrior. I would consider an arms warrior to also be a meme class spec. So,
do you want to go into keeping the continuity between raids, between raid groups, between officers?
Right, so each team may tolerate things differently, but this is the overall guild policy. There are going to be overall guild policies in general, not just this specific topic, but there are going to be positions that are held differently between raid teams. Whoever's running that team is going to be more tolerant or less tolerant of things. And the best way to figure these things out, if you're one of these people who want to play one of these specs or any other topic, if you're swapping between teams or what have you, you should always approach whoever that raid leader is, or you should try to talk to an officer that's part of that team, and then get the information directly from them, then assume that it's going to be the same between team A, B, C. Okay, let's start with the guild rank structure now. So we're going to have a Terabad rank, which is Guildmaster, is just a name for it, that we've had since forever. The only thing that's different between Officer and Guildmaster in our guild is that you can veto on Loot Council as a Guildmaster. Otherwise, it's the same exact position. It's lateral. It's all responsibilities are the same. With an officer and a guildmaster, you're supposed to be creating policies, strategies to enhance guild progression. You're supposed to resolve conflicts within the guild. And something I didn't put on here is it's our job to ensure that people are having fun within the guild. So a hardcore player and a casual player are going to have two different definitions of fun. It's our jobs to ensure that those things are possible for these players as much as possible. It's impossible. It's not possible to make everybody happy all the time, 100% of the time. But as much as we can make people happy or make their lives better, we should try to. For an officer, the bare minimum I would require is you're extremely knowledgeable multiple classes and deeply knowledgeable of raid encounters and metagame. You maintain stability within the raid, as in you're not stirring crap up during the raid. You're not. You're handling sub-ins and sub-outs responsibly. You're making sure assignments are being followed and handed out in the first place. You're holding class leaders accountable and you're handling the broader issues within the guild. For class leaders, you're just below officer. You have voting rights on council. You advocate for players within their role and their class. So just because I'm a resto shaman doesn't mean I don't advocate for priests. So you are, as a resto druid, you're looking at every healer, holy priest, resto shaman. You're looking at all these different players. Now, I don't expect you to know them as much as you would know your own class, and I don't expect you to know them as people, but outside of your own class. But you should have a good understanding and try to be learning about them as much as possible, because it'll just make our loot council better and it'll make a guild a better community. You should be seeking to learn outside of your role in class as much as you can, whenever you can. You should guide and teach both new and veteran players about how to perform better. So a brand new rogue to the game, I'm going to give different advice than a veteran rogue to the game, but maybe he doesn't have maybe he doesn't know about start attack macros, or maybe he doesn't know about optimizing his DPS uptime. These more subtle or more advanced ideas or concepts. But the new guy, I'm going to teach, like, this is a spec, this is a build that you should be playing, this is what you should be itemizing for, you know, stuff like that. This is your pre-raid bis. That's the expectation. PvP leader, that's going to be a new role that we've never had in the guild before. This is specifically because we want to encourage ranking this time around more than we've done in the past. You have voting rights in the council, which is different than before. Previously, we've just gone on whoever is active in the PvP scene or whoever's been ranking. We just give them priority on certain pieces. But it's your job to advocate for people who are active in the PvP scene. You're going to be organizing ranking teams and pre-mades. You're going to be gathering intel on opposing guilds on the faction and telling me, hey, this is when they're going to be raiding. You know, you're going to form gang squads to go sit in Blackrock Mountain waiting for them to show up. You're going to be setting up world boss griefing teams. You're going to be patrolling popular farming areas. You're going to be setting up. Basically, we are going to dominate the server, and you are going to be a large part of that. There are going to be probably 1 to 3 PvP officers in the guild. They are held to the same expectations as a class leader in terms of like performance. You know, being respectful when you're in public, knowing how to handle yourself in front of pugs, and you know, generally being a good ambassador for the guild. But at the same time, you're handling a different aspect of the game. There are also some other core tasks that are going to be delegated to these people: class leaders, officers, PvP leaders. There's also maybe another position that I haven't put on here because we haven't decided on it yet, a guild bank officer. But those were discussed at the officer meeting. You can watch it in the video last week if you want to learn more about those things. The core rager rank. So this is going to be how it is for the entirety of vanilla for us. You want to be a core raider, you need to be attuned to all available raids. You want to be full pre-bis with full enchants, full resist set if applicable, promoted by class leaders when all expectations are met. You'll be given certain rewards, such as Oni bags, reg bugs, Zillion Tiger Raptor mounts, and possibly guild will cover your enchants. And this rank, all these things, all these factors apply to every rank above core rager. Your pre-bis is going to change every phase. Your resist set requirements are going to change after phase. I mean, for tanks it's going to start at the beginning, but you know, 4, 5, and 6, those are all going to have requirements for the whole guild to be farming out resist sets. And then you're going to have to talk on a one-on-one basis with your class leader to determine, hey, are you ready or not? They're gonna inspect you, probably talk to you, and then you'll get promoted. And what I mean by benefits, like I'm not going to let brand new guys roll on mounts or bags, or these are things that are a reward for people who've been in the guild for a while and have gotten their stuff done. If you want to roll on these things, it'll motivate you to get there. The first time you're not allowed to roll on a Zillion Tiger mount, you're probably going to be more motivated to get the rank, or maybe you're not cut out for the guild. So the whole idea is to create a weight behind the rank. We don't want to have a rank that has no meaning and just gets, you know, most guilds just have ranks that don't mean anything. Like, I'm a core now. Well, how'd you get there? What's the difference between a core and a meat? You know, these are just words. They don't mean anything. But by creating something that has weight behind it, has a reward behind it, it'll give you guys the incentive or the motivation. At least some people are motivated this way. And that's important to us for Classic, to give each rank a weight to it, and responsibility and an expectation. The meat rank we've combined, so in the past we've had alt ranks and social ranks and stuff like that, probation ranks. Well, we just combine them all into one, and all it is really is it just saves admin time and promoting people and demoting people all the time. It's just, I've probably lost I probably have like 800 days played in this game or more, and I probably spent 50 days played just clicking the promote button in the guild, like, or demote. Like, when we're gonna be such a big guild, it's just gonna be such a hassle to do. So really, the only time you're gonna get promoted is when you've earned it. People who are getting invited to the guild are just gonna sit at the meat rank until they're 60, until they're tuned, until they're pre-raid. For alts, you can just mark it in the guild notes. You know, this is how the guild will be organized as far as rank structure. Raid times. So exact times are currently undecided. We're looking at, last time I talked to Freck, the co-GM, we were looking at doing something like 8:45 p.m. East Coast. We're doing invites. 9 p.m. we're starting raid. And that's likely what it's going to be. And then we'll run till 12:30 a.m. East Coast. But especially in the early content, we don't expect raids to run extremely late. We expect to clear Molten Core after the first 2 weeks or so. We expect to clear Molten Core really quickly, maybe under 2 hours. But in general, don't be afraid. Like, yeah, like 3 hours or 4 hours is a lot of time to be raiding, but don't worry, that's not going to be the consistent issue. Like, vanilla content's easy. We're going to push clear times. We're going to get content cleared quickly. We will probably not have assigned raid days. We probably just raid until all the content's clear for the week. So some of you guys are brand new to vanilla, and you don't realize that you never stop clearing all the content in the game. When Nax is out, you still clear AQ40, you still clear AQ20, you still clear ZG. You're talking about five 40-man raids and 2 20-man raids, and plus world bosses, 6 world bosses. So that's a lot of content to do. The only realistic way to do all of that content is to schedule it out throughout 7 days a week. No one is expected to raid 7 days a week. We're going to have a calendar that's going to go up, and we'll have, say, something that says, like, Team A is raiding this day, this day, and this day. And it'll be consistent. Like, Team A will always raid, like, these particular days. And it'll typically be the same. Like, BWL will always happen on a Wednesday, or Molten Core will always happen on a Friday, or whatever. But since we'll have multiple teams, if you can only make Team A's Molten Core, but you can't make Team A's BWL, well, you're going to be allowed to transition to Team B's BWL. It doesn't matter. The only thing that's going to be different between Team A and Team B is the people leading the team. You are going to be able to swap between the two teams. There's going to be a level of coordination required between officers to make that happen sometimes, but for the most part, you're going to be able to freely move between teams. So raid invites will happen exactly when we have the time scheduled in the calendar. So if I say invites are happening at 8:45, that's exactly when they start. And if you've been in our guild in the past, you know that invites can be done in under 2 minutes or under 1 minute. So if you're not on exactly the time, you might be sitting out for the night. We may rotate you in or out depending on our ability to do that, but you should try to always be on time. The first week of content, we're probably raiding every day as soon as we have a viable raid comp. Consumable expectation. So we will reasonably expect you to consume. This goes along with pre-raid and stuff. Like at launch, I don't expect everybody to have full pre-raid the first raid. But maybe after a month, you probably should be closer to full pre-raid than not. And maybe enchant should be a thing. And this is going to be a case-by-case basis. And this is also going to be like we will not determine this until we feel like a fair amount of people are able to accomplish it. But consumables, they kind of go hand in hand. Like, we don't expect you to have flasks the first week. Maybe we expect you to have flasks by the second month. Maybe we expect you to be full elixirs by that time as well. Or, there's certain things that we expect people to be able to do. I understand that's not realistic for, like, somebody who just hit 60. We understand that it's not going to be possible for it's going to be smarter to use less consumes and farm content in terms of saving things for progression, or I'd rather use a flask in a BWL progression raid than a initial like a farm molten core raid. If possible, have it for both, but I understand the situation. However, we will hold you accountable. So if somebody is just consuming every raid, expect that guy to get gear over you if you're not being competitive. This is a reasonable thing to ask of you, because everybody's expected to consume and everybody's expected to perform better. So if you are deliberately not consuming because you don't want to farm, because you'd rather spend your time playing Apex Legends or something than farm for progression, then we're going to hold you accountable for that. And that's how it'll be. And when content releases, consumable expectations will increase over time. So just expect that. We will put out hey, AQ40 is coming out. We expect you to have this many free action potions and this many fire nature protection potions, etc. World buffs will be tracked on a spreadsheet. You will not pop world buffs until we ask you to. Heads of Rend initially, we're probably going to just the first molten core, we're probably going to stagger them, and then when we do our first Elixir raid or something, we're going to just, whoever still got them, got to get attuned, go ahead and pop them. It's going to be, we have to be reasonable, because that buff particularly is part of an attunement chain, so we can't just hold them. But the rest of the heads, where I have an expectation for. Dharma North, as soon as it's available, we will start getting Dharma North buffs for our raids, including Molten Core and farm content. All tanks will be expected to run their own Molten Cores. You will not be the guy that logs in at the last minute and expect an invite. You will do it's advised that you have cleared your Dharma North at least an hour before invites go out. If you are still in Dharma North by the time invites go out, you're slowing down the raid. If that takes 8 minutes for you to get you from zoning in to getting your buffs and being ready to be invited to raid, that's one boss encounter that we were not able to attempt throughout the night. So consider that. Consider 8 minutes as one boss encounter. That's significant. And as we progress and we get more gear and more consumables, raids will be a lot shorter. So when you have you're clearing bosses in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, well, now you're talking about 2-3 bosses potentially that we were unable to kill because you decided you wanted to do your invite. You wanted to wait past invite time to do your buffs. So be considerate. There will be situations where you just get sat if you do that, and then we won't tolerate it. So get your world buffs before the raid. For Dharma North and Songflower, stuff like that. Guild Bank, we will create a list of items, and actually we've created it. It still needs to be, some things need to be added, but we create a list of items that will be donated while you level. So certain classes will have the ability to farm early on, like mages, hunters, warlocks, these fast leveling classes. I highly suggest, if you find that your questing area is too competitive or whatever, grinding is not a bad option all the time. It's not bad. So for example, I personally will probably be grinding from levels 35 to 38, just so that when I buy my epic mount, I'm not broke. And then if I see any blue BOEs or epic BOEs on the auction house during the early economy, I can pick them up for the guild progression purpose. It'll be worth the time. Time investment to farm. So let's say I'm a hunter and I'm ahead of the guild. Well, farming for your favorite warrior to get his whirlwind axe at 30 will be so much. That guy will get to 60 so much faster. So if you're a hunter and you're ahead of everybody, and you hit 60 maybe the the third or second person in the guild or on the server, who's gonna take your dungeons? Well, maybe the guy that you farm the whirlwind axe would. Those mobs in particular are not hard to kill, and you can also farm some consumable items. So you can farm elemental earth, elemental fire while you do it, and the elemental fire will directly contribute to our ability to kill first couple bosses in Molten Core that first week. So start thinking about this stuff while you level, and start thinking about it, adding it to your leveling paths if you're going to be one of those classes. But another thing to consider is that most items are not going to be worth anything at launch, and nobody's going to have any gold. So if that's the case, you should just bank them until they do have value, or consider that we need them for progression at the launch. Like, there's not going to be any gold in the market. Nobody's going to be buying anything from the auction house for more than like a gold here and there. So consider that, and consider what is it better to just give it to the guild and so that they can progress. We can progress faster, versus having 100 gold here or there potentially. We'll have a maintained list of items that will be tradable with the guild bank. We've done this in the past. Somebody will be managing this, some officer. And so, like, let's say you want to buy your epic mount, or let's say you need you are not an herbalist, but you want to get consumables. Well, the guild bank will trade you elemental fire for a flask or something like that, and there'll be a set amount and like an equal value based on auction house, and we'll do trades from the guild bank. We'll also be able to have a diverse amount of items in the guild bank by doing that, and we can use some of those items to generate gold. As far as providing enchants for core raiders, we need to know exactly what they plan to do for guild banks, because I don't feel like the current system of the game, like the vanilla systems in place, are going to work. Like, traditional guild banks have been run on like guild bank accounts, and everybody has access to them. So you're basically breaking the terms of service by logging into somebody else's account, right? So I don't think it's a realistic thing to do, or expect guilds to do. So I feel like they have to do something. I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll get more details out there about it later. Enchants will be based on like if the guild bank is being given greens that we decide they're not necessary, we'll just start disenchanting them, and then we can hand out guild enchants to core raiders. PvP organizing, we want to have an organized officer like I talked about earlier. Due to having multiple raid teams, we'll be able to control ranking on whichever faction we roll on. If you're somebody who's interested in ranking, there's a spreadsheet you need to add your name to so we can get you in the loop. You need to know, if you plan on ranking, you must know how the ranking system works at an in-depth level. This is because you're going to have multiple people that are going to be stacking rank points. When multiple people are stacking rank points, there are multiple people who are able to get to standing 1. So for PvP ranking, the minimum number of weeks it would take you to get to rank 14, assuming you were standing 1 every week, would be 12 weeks. So 12 weeks to get from rank 1 to rank 14 of constantly being standing 1. Well, with the current PvP system, or how it was implemented in vanilla, you could stack standing so multiple people could get standing 1. So if our guild is going to be dominant and we're going to have the most honor kills on the faction, or we're going to have the most active PvPers, we could potentially stack 4 or 5 people at standing 1, and then, or 3 people. It depends on how many people are active in PvP on the server, the total population. Or standing 2 or standing 3. And this will be controlled by an officer that controls it for the whole faction. Like, we'll be big enough that we can just decide this for the whole faction. and we can blacklist people who don't cooperate, things like that. Phase 2 is the time to be ranking, probably. Phase 3 is when they implement battlegrounds, and they'll all be cross-realm. So that means that you're going to be trying to compete against people who play 24/7 versus people who play in Phase 2. It's all world PvP based for ranking. So you're just killing people at Minotho Harbor, Dire Mall, Black Mountain. That's where you're getting your honor. So it'll be much more competitive in Phase 3 than Phase 2. If we can create some kind of monopoly on the system in Phase 2, it'll carry over to Phase 3. If you can hit rank 10 in Phase 2, and then you can grind the rest of it in Phase 3, that's probably one of the better ways to go about it. If you don't have as much time, you don't want to dedicate 6 weeks of your life to this. PvP items that drop in PvP or PvE will be given out to players who are actively engaged in the PvP scene, like I said before. PvP items will not be given to players who only keep them in their banks and do nothing with them. And I will hold you accountable for that. So if you're a warrior and you take a two-hander, an Ash Candy, from a PvP warrior, and you never PvP, I'll probably never give you a PvP item again. That's not to say I won't give you PvE items, but I'm not gonna treat you like you you're not gonna deserve it in my eyes anymore. And I think that's probably the same idea that most officers are gonna have.
Yep.
Scarab Lord AK-40 opening event. So we want our third team established before AK-40. One of the more hardcore goals we have for vanilla is we want to have the most Scarab Lords in the world. And how we're going to do that is by having 3 raid teams. We are going to control the hives where those. So if you've done the Scarab Lord grind before, it's pretty extreme, right? You have to farm from hated to neutral for brood rep. And how you do that is you kill these bugs in AK-40, like around or in Silithus. There are these 3 hives. So our PvP team at this time, if they're going to be helping us, they're going to be killing enemy guilds that are killing these mobs. So they're going to create a mafia down there, and they're just going to gank any guild that tries to touch these mobs. Secondly, we are going to not participate in the opening war event. So we are probably not going to be in the US first, your US 50th kills in AK-40, because we're going to be such a large guild in the faction that if we boycott the event, we are not going to let our faction complete it, basically. But we're going to try to generate as many Scarab Lords as possible. This is going to be such a huge effort. Like, I would even say, don't take days off during Molten Core. Don't take days off at release. Save them for AK-40, because this is when you're going to need them. Now, based on who's going to get them, it's going to be merit based. You're going to have to be extremely dedicated to the game and no lifing like no other to get this title. At least the first people will, and then we'll the most deserving people, the most hardcore people will be chosen, the people who want it at least, and then they will scale down as time goes on. So just because you're not the most hardcore guy doesn't mean you're not going to be able to get this title, but we're going to go in order. And it's going to be based on who's been around a long time as well, like who's been there since Molten Core or launch. So if you're taking breaks between now and then, we're going to look at you differently than somebody who's been around since the start. I have some more plans, some more direct plans on this that I'll announce when we're closer to it, but the key to this is being able to clear more Molten Core BWL than anybody else, and we'll talk about it more when we get there. Thunder Fury. So this is another item that's going to be given out based on merit. It'll be based on how long you've been around, how consistent you've been, how much of an asset to the guild you are, things like that. It'll go to tanks primarily, but we may give it to a really dedicated rogue towards the end of the game. I'm talking like after Cthulhu's dead, maybe Nax progression area, but I'm probably not going to give it to somebody who's not like a rank 14 rogue or like I'm talking extreme dedication. Another route, if you're a rogue or a hunter who wants this item, you could run your own pugs. And we would support you with that. We would send people to help you run those teams. But multiple cases, when multiple bindings drop, what's going to have the same type. So like, let's say we get 2 bearing bindings to drop. We're going to want you to swap to another Molt Core team if they don't also have the same like binding over there, so that we don't have a situation where we're waiting on the same, multiple of the same bindings to drop. And this is only if that's required. And we're going to be flexible. And we're going to try to rotate people around as much as possible to make as much Thunder Furies as possible. But this is something to think about if you're planning to play Prot Warrior. Be flexible with your schedule. Talisman, the Binding Shard, will go to a tank, assuming it's available. I doubt it's available, but if Blizzard decides to throw that little Easter egg in and make like 1 per server drop or something cool like that, then it'll go to a tank specifically. For Eye of Rag, I'll give this to any warrior or shaman who has high attendance in PvP ranking. I'm not going to give it to a druid. If you get this item, you're going to be done with all 2-hand weapons until Kel'Thuzad. And that's just because it's aside from Cthulhu, like Edge of Insanity, it's basically a lateral upgrade. If you don't think about like weapon types, but the thing is, if like an Eye of Rag drops in phase 1, well, you should be pretty happy because you're not going to be able to upgrade your weapon anyway until like either you hit rank 14 or you're in Deep Nax, or you get Dark Edge of Insanity. So, that's how we're going to do this item. Atiesh, so we're going to give the splinters to the guy who's been around since launch, the guy or girl, as long as they've had good attendance performance. We want to give this a mid-level performer, assuming high-level performers don't want to get it. So if like somebody is absolutely carry, always tops the meters, and they really want this item, we're not going to tell them they can't have it. But they'll have to accept the responsibility of what that means to get this item. We will choose a different player of each class as a secondary and tertiary targets for shards after the first step is completed, or when the primary target is not in attendance. So if like there's a warlock, a priest, and a mage, the warlock is the first to get it, and then the warlock doesn't show up for raid, but we have a shard drop. It'll go to the shard that drops will go to the priest, and then the priest had to go mid raid, and then another shard drops, so it'll go to the mage, and then like we'll have backups and backups and backups, and then whenever that warlock finishes his staff, or if one of those so it's 2 things. If one of those 3 people overtakes another in the number of shards, then they become the primary target. And then additionally, if like let's say one guy completes it, then we'll select another person to be like the 3rd target for the Atiesh. So this is it. So if you guys have questions, you can start asking either in Twitch chat or in Discord. Both are okay.
Do we know if, with the EU and US server split, do we know what sub, if you have to have like the US sub for the US thing, or is it just going to all be merged, or does no one?
That's
not a major question.
So currently, during like how they have the game set up, that's exactly what you have to do. You have to have the US sub to play the US game.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I really needed to know. I already know how the guild operates.
How set are you on RPPV?
If it's available, I'm pretty heavily set on it because, again, there's a major advantage to doing it. There's no difference. The rule set is not different. The only thing that you're not allowed to do is like grief, same faction. You're not allowed to grief people's RP event. So If, for example, somebody decided to have a wedding event in the Gurubashi Arena, we couldn't go in there and kill them.
We're not going to reenact a Serenity now?
Right, we can't do that. We can't do that
Names
for
are a
same
big thing
faction.
about our.
For enemy faction, we can do that. We can grief alliance all we want, but also you can't name yourself like LOL something, or you can't name yourself like. There's some naming restrictions, but it's not.
Rip Cabbage.
No, Cabbage is probably fine.
To be fair, I did have an undead that had a surname Cabbage.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm talking more like I could name myself like I don't know, like Floss LOL or something. You know, I can't, or like.
I get it. Take
whatever.
the LOL.
So if someone griefs your node, can you drop an infernal on his head? If he's same faction, will they report that?
No, because it's not an RP event. Like, it's only
Right.
like social. As like if you're
So you can right-click report.
Like, I'm talking about if you're going into like somebody's doing like a serious little RP session in I don't know. Some
Goldshire.
tavern or something, and then you just go in and you just make your character naked and just spam yell emotes and like just grief the hell out of them. Like that would probably get you reported, and I don't think you even get banned for it. I think it's just they'd warn you not to do that, or the GM would teleport you away, or whatever, or the GM would tell the people to put them on ignore. But the rule set is different slightly, but you still flag when you go into Ashenvale. It's the same fucking thing. It's the same thing. Our guild is not RP oriented at all. It's just we're only interested in doing this for strategic reasons. But again, it's like not even likely to be a thing because they've announced that they're not gonna have it. And if like let's say all the fucking streamers decide to roll on all the RP servers, like, well then that removes this option. Does anybody else have any questions? I have one guy stream after Celica. Go.
I've got a couple of them, so I've actually got a lot of them. So I'll fire one off, and then I'll let somebody else ask one, and then we'll go back and forth.
We're completely avoiding the streamers as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
The big ones.
Yes, that's definitely a thing that we are trying to do.
How many class leads are you anticipating having, and will they be on a per team basis?
Yeah, so, and we talked about this in the other video that we did. It'll be one per team optimally. I mean, there may be situations where there are two, or somebody's leading a class from a class that they're not playing, but it'll be on for the most part, we'll have one per class. This is what we want per team.
Okay, and are there requirements for joining the Final Boss stream team? Like, do you have to be an affiliate, a partner? Do you have to have certain viewers? Like, what's that all?
So I'll let the guys that manage that community make that determination, and then I'll publish it whenever they inform me. They haven't informed me yet. This is just the announcement that we're going to be changing our name and we're going to be joining them. But I can tell you, like, it'll be fairly accessible, I think. But I think that I can't really speak too much else on it.
We have a request in the Twitch chat to go back to the raid slide. Doppel whammy.
That's me.
Okay, how do we check information for Final Boss? Make sure the check goes to the right place. Well, you're not paying for anything, so I don't know what you mean by that, Z-Hark. I'm gonna skip Hanky's question. At some point, a progressive raid team sounds inevitable with the guild teams. guild's views on when that needs to happen. So it's got to be on a case by case basis, right? So you like when Nax comes out, there may be a situation where we feel like both teams can't handle Nax, but I don't think it's the case. Like I said, we want to keep both teams equal as much as possible. I know that some guilds, like especially like TBC, Wrath, and Beyond, they do like, you know, there's an A team for Karazhan and a B team for Karazhan, and that's how it goes. But I'm really against that dynamic. And we, like in the past, we've done, like for example, we've gone into 20 mans. We've set the teams up both to be successful, even when it was progression content. Like even when nobody else had cleared 20 mans on the server, we didn't necessarily stack the team just to clear it the first time. We would set it up. Like our aim is not server firsts or US firsts or world firsts. It's clearing the content at an effective rate. Now, I think if we run the guild the right way and we get everybody on the same level, or at the right level, that will come naturally. So I'm not really concerned about that in particular, and I'm going to try to kill it off as much as possible. Like any clicking, like I understand that there are going to be clicks that form between the different teams, but my idea is that yes, it's a possibility, but I'm going to be actively fighting against that possibility as much as possible.
Okay, I have a question scenario for.
Okay.
So let's say, hypothetically, they release RP PvP, and then somewhere along the line of time, your main tank comes home, he's drinking, gets drunk, and he's like, you know what sounds great? Playing some classic WoW while drunk. And then he's just going to the world, and you see some people RPing, and he's just like, in his drunk mind, he's just like, I'm gonna fuck with these people, and he ends up potentially getting banned, or some shit happens, and bam, right then and there, you lose your main tank for progression.
Okay, so if this happens, firstly, Blizzard's not the only person who's going to be frustrated with them. I'm probably going to be frustrated with them. But secondly, we're never going to be in a position where we have to depend on a single person for progression. So we will have multiple tanks that are able to step into that role. We will have multiple raid leaders that are able to step up into that role. Like who can if that guy was a raid leader, if I got drunk and I got banned for being an idiot, somebody would be able to do my job, even if I'm not there. If I go on vacation for 3 weeks, I'll be okay. Like the guild will be okay. That's the kind of the structure we've set up within the guild. So I understand the concern, but really the answer is don't be an asshole.
Okay, fair enough. So now another question I suppose just popped in my head was, we say that we're avoiding streamers at all possibility, but yet with doing this community merger, there is allowance for people to do streams. So what happens if the people in the guild that are streaming turn into their own streaming personalities? Basically, they become the people that we were avoiding to begin with.
Now, if this happens, well, we have a couple problems, right? If they want to grow into their own entity and it becomes a problem where it's affecting the guild negatively, or the server negatively, we may ask like to separate from the player. This is an extreme, right? The guy may become bigger than the guild. Like one guy may become bigger than the guild, and if that's the case, then we have to look. We have to reevaluate. Well, like, is this somebody we want in the guild? Is this, what do we do about it? And it's a complex issue. So we have somebody, and I was actually talking to him. He had previously played with Swifty in his guild. He was an officer in the guild that Swifty played with. And he told me about some of the problems he had to deal with. And yeah, the guy's ego, I'm not going to speak about Swifty because I don't know him. But I'm just saying, like, he told me some things. And it's understandable that when the streamer becomes bigger than the guild, that he doesn't respect people within the guild as much anymore, or he doesn't care as much. So he'll just openly talk while the raid leader's talking or whatever, because he's streaming and he doesn't want to push to talk or whatever. I mean, if it gets to that level, then we'll have to think about like how this is hurting the guild or helping the guild. Yeah, do we get the notoriety? Okay, but streaming is not just for one person like to grow. Like that, the intent behind our guild streaming is it helps us promote our brand and able to get better recruits in general. People are going to want to come to our server to play with us. There are players that are going to be more serious about, like they see how serious we are, they're going to be more attracted, and they see that their guild is not taking the game as seriously as we are, so they're going to be more attracted to us and how we run things. There are a lot of advantages to streaming, but there are going to be times where I tell people to kill the stream, like kill all streams, because we have to get through. Like maybe we're getting grief in Blackrock Mountain and we need to get into the instance. And I'll tell people, hey, or we're going to a world boss. I'm not going to allow streaming to world bosses ever. I'll allow griefing, like people griefing other guilds on world bosses, like on stream, but I'm not going to allow us to stream world bosses because I don't want to telegraph movements. But anyway, there'll be more that comes out about policies regarding streaming. Yeah, I mean, streams will be hidden until we're inside raids and stuff like that. There'll be some standards set. So I have somebody direct message asking me, do you plan on having a raid that goes super fast speed clearing? So, yes, but is it going to be the norm? Probably not. It depends. Like if we're like fully consumed and we're still waiting on Beatable to come out, and yeah, I think we're gonna speed clearing Molten Core, or Onyxia or whatever. There may be a night where we're like, hey, we're gonna try to kill this as fast as possible. I don't think it's gonna be as common as it is on private servers right now, because of cooldowns on world buffs that are not currently implemented on private servers, and I don't think consumables are going to be as viable to farm like they are on private servers. Now, if they are, let's assume that it's completely the same as private servers. Well, then yeah, I expect us to be speed clearing as much as possible, especially when the content's farmed.
To piggyback off that speed clearing question, are we going to be killing any optional bosses in other raids?
What do you mean? Are we gonna kill Bug Trio and like
the optional bosses that are in ZG, AQ?
Yeah, we're gonna be Well, speed clears maybe not, but yeah, we're gonna be killing like Fish Boss. We have to. There's progression items to drop from those bosses. I guess speed clearing and what JGam19 said in Twitch chat kind of related. Yeah, we're gonna have progressive raids, but there's gonna be an expectation that each team is capable of having that environment. There's not gonna be a carry squad and a non-carry squad. Dan's Dreamland asks, is the guild gonna help fund Ivrag? Yes and no. Like we're gonna supply all the ingots. There are some mats we're just not going to have that guy's just going to have to farm. But I think the guild in general is going to help contribute. Like the guild as in each individual player is probably going to want to contribute versus, like the guild bank giving everything to the guy. For example, when I got my first Thunder Fury, the whole guild bank just gave me random Arcanite bars that they had. I didn't expect to get bindings, finished or whatever. I started on farming my Arcanite bars, but as one person, it's it takes a lot of work. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You can't really plan for legendaries other than the hope to get them. So,
is the guild going to be set up to take contributions to buying best in slot BOE epics like Edge Masters and things like that for the people that need them?
Yeah, so yeah, if we spot them, we'll try to buy them if we can afford it.
Can you bring in the guild farm sheet? Explain that a bit, please.
Repeat.
The wanted items.
You talking about like the farm list?
Yeah, farmless. This is Auto-Hacks, by the way.
What are you asking?
Can you just introduce that and explain what we're trying to do there and how everyone can help?
Yeah, I can. I'll link it after the stream ends, but it's just it's a list of items that the guild bank needs and like what phase we'll need them in, and what we need farmed and to try to collect them as we are leveling, and then I mean it's rough to say because we don't know how guild banks will work, but if we have to assume that it's going to be like 1.12 style, then we'll have like a number, a quantity that have to be updated on a spreadsheet, and you'll just look at the spreadsheet and you'll see how much you're in the guild bank, stuff like that, and you can exchange items in and out.
Okay, so even though Classic is still 3 months away, have you given any more thought to what class you will concretely play as? I say this in example as in like originally you were thinking warrior, but then I think you said like mage or warlock, and then now you're saying druid.
You're asking me specifically what I'm going to play?
Yes, you specifically.
So it's going to be based on so we have a roster I made everybody fill out, right? Everybody's on the roster. Well, pretty soon I'm going to cull that roster down, and I'm going to make you pick between one class, like one or two classes, pretty soon. And I'm going to use both like I'm going to keep the old roster because I'm going to know like this guy's interested in these classes, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to find like exactly how many of each we have and exactly what we need at this point. And this is going to be probably around end of July that I'm going to do this time frame. And this is because I want to know, you know, what I need to play, and I need to know what everybody else should be playing. Or if I have to tell a guy who's stuck between a mage and a prot warrior, well, you should probably play the mage. We have so many prot warriors, or you know, whatever.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, just ideally or speculatively, what are you wanting to play?
I mean, I want a tank just so I have better control over the pace of raids, but I'll play pretty much anything that I feel like the guild needs. But I mean, I'll probably have the most fun playing a warrior, but I'd probably rather play a druid at launch personally, because I feel like other people are gonna play feral druid are gonna be meme lords, and they're gonna not take the game seriously. And then 2, I want to be able to tank, and 3, I think druid is gonna level way faster than a warrior, so it'll be less time commitment to me.
You're seriously thinking about druid tanking?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done it.
So
it's actually pretty good.
Kind of going off of that, is rolling an alt required, and will you be penalized for not making alt?
So, for hunters specifically, yeah, you're gonna have to have an alt, and you won't need it until AQ40. But everybody else, no, I don't require you to have an alt, but it's encouraged.
Okay, and kind of going off of that as well, is tailoring and enchanting an acceptable profession combo? Because I read somewhere on the Discord that you have to have engineering or mining. Like, what's that all about?
So engineering is the only profession that confers you an actual raid benefit, other than tailoring. So ideally, if you're a caster DPS, you have tailoring and engineering both. But you don't. It won't be required until BWL, and if you don't have them, it'll just be something that we like. If there's an equally skilled player who has the same exact attendance as you, and one has engineering and tailoring, and the other one only has tailoring, then we're probably gonna consider the other guy to be more dedicated. And that's not to say that we don't like you or whatever, but that's just, we need people to be engineers for a progression purpose, and because of that, you should be engineering. Like, you want to be an enchanter, that's fine, but maybe you shouldn't play a mage then. If you play a hunter, you can probably be an enchanting engineer. Or if you're they're druids or shaman, have more freedom with their profession. But everybody should be an engineer. Like, at least 35 out of 40 in the raid need to be engineers.
Yeah, but then if you're picking up tailoring as a mage and doing engineering, then you almost need to have an alt to get the mining materials to level the engineering. So, like I said, you're kind of being penalized for not making alts in that situation.
No, not necessarily. There are ways to do it, right? So what you can do, if you're off the bat, you just keep all your cloth, you level mining and engineering, and then once you've gotten it maxed, you drop mining and you level tailoring. Or you do the inverse, you level tailoring off the bat, and you have mining, and you gather all the materials you need for engineering from 1 to 300, and then you drop mining and you level engineering after that.
Another thing you can do as a mage is you can AoE dungeons and collect the gold and loot out of there, and then use that loot to buy the resources necessary to level up your engine.
You have a long time, right? You have until phase 3. That's potentially a long time. I'm not going to say that I know exactly how much time, because nobody does, but we're talking from day of launch until the BWL is out. So you have a lot of time,
I accidentally chose enchanting on the list. I meant engineering.
Yeah, if you want to look at it just from a pure efficiency standpoint, you'll be picking up cloth as you're going along. So you might as well just go mining and engineering and then drop mining. Whereas the inverse is you're not going to be picking up random ore as you're leveling. So
I have a question from Woody Joey. He's asking, can you publish a class leader list, Discord, and in-game name for easier pre-launch communication introduction? So we have in the Discord on the right bar, there's a member list, and it has class leaders separated, and it tells you exactly what class they're class leader of. And yeah, we'll require them to change their names to whatever they'll be in game. But I mean, so firstly, your class leader should reach out to you in game at some point to talk to you. But if that's not good enough, then you can always ask me, and I'll point you in the right direction, I guess, or some other officer you can ask.
Who's leading mages?
Huh?
Who's leading mages, or do we not know yet?
It'll be either auto hacks potentially or undecided. We haven't promoted everybody who's going to be an officer. We still are going through interviews and stuff, and I don't expect every position to be filled before launch. So there's still a lot of people who require interviews, and a lot of people are trying to apply for positions.
It could be multiple mage leaders too. Like, there doesn't have to be one.
Right. You can share the position. I need one per raid team. So if you're at
minimum
launch,
16.
If you're at launch, there's 2 mage leaders. Well, when the second team comes up, they'll split into each other team. It's good to ask, will raid leaders always be an officer? No, not necessarily. Depends on the content. For Nax, probably yeah. For BWL, when it's on farm, probably not. Like, we'll let other people raid lead. Or, I mean, there's such a wide there's a wide amount of room. So if you're like let's say you're somebody who likes to raid lead, and you don't have the time to be an officer, but you want to raid lead, we'll give you that opportunity. You just need to speak up about it and communicate that to us. So that's something you enjoyed to do. You'll probably be required to have a mic that doesn't sound like trash, though, if you're gonna raid lead. I'm reading through chat right now. Okay, so for keeping track of loot with multiple raid teams and alts, it's actually not so bad. We are just going to have a spreadsheet, and there's going to be one of the officers is going to be delegated to record each piece of loot and where it goes, and that will be kept in that spreadsheet, and then it'll just break down by name. So,
and it might not be every single individual piece of gear, but at least all the important stuff.
Might not track 20-man loot, but we'll definitely track 40-man loot, like every piece of drops. You'll see, like, I have all these systems I've been working on. Basically, when I'm not, like, since the game hasn't been out and I haven't been playing on any server actively, I've been just working on the guild 8 hours a day, basically, after work, whenever I have time. I'm just putting time into the guild, making these systems, working on spreadsheets, whatever, trying to prep us. So there's going to be some dependence on an add-on to be written, possibly. Where, like, there's an add-on for, I think, TBC or Wrath, where you can just, it checks, it sees where every piece of loot went, like who looted an item, and then you can just copy and paste that directly into a spreadsheet. It's just in text. Jake Game asks, on Netherwing, we waited on you for a bit and you ended up being too busy and never took off. Any input on it being different this time and would be appreciated. So this is a more personal question about my ability to run a guild, I guess. I can tell you that when Netherwing launched, I just got super busy with work and I didn't have the leadership backing for NA that I wanted. And so it couldn't go anywhere because while I had a few people who were really dedicated, I didn't have the team I wanted. So there's a couple problems, right? You have an EU server that's you're trying to run NA team on. So I remember Netherwing being an extreme problem for recruitment for NA because there were so many guilds trying to form. And then by the time I quit, I was talking to 3 or 4 different NA guilds trying to get them to merge into us or to form a merger with us. And I just couldn't convince anybody. But they were also all having recruitment problems. And so I think there just wasn't a viability for us to run a guild on that server, unfortunately. I think that the hype died off too quickly and NA players didn't stay. Or if they did stay, they were all on Horde. I couldn't really say. Any other questions? Oh, I guess I could say that I don't expect that to happen in Classic because we're going to be playing at NA servers. I don't expect recruitment to have problems. And I expect to have time to level, unlike Netherwing where they launched it after my holiday and I wasn't able to take any other holidays. Like, they launched it, like, what, the very end of December and then I got wrecked. Is this Susan Grundle? Rip. Anybody else have any other questions?
Will there be somebody to manage the guild bank and just like keep like a spreadsheet going and as well as just help you like create spreadsheets for other kinds of data in general?
Can you reword that question?
Okay, like, is there gonna be somebody that's gonna manage the guild bank, like help with that, and also if you need, if you've got a whole bunch of data that you need plugged into a spreadsheet, is there gonna be somebody to help you out with that too?
Yeah, so like I said, I don't know how Blizzard's planning to do guild banks, but if they're not doing any, then yeah, it'll likely be managed by multiple people somehow, and we'll track it in spreadsheets like I was talking about earlier when AutoHacks asked about how we're gonna like distribute items from the guild bank and stuff like that. It'll be managed by somebody. There'll be an officer that is dedicated to it and have that task delegated to them. Jane Mims asks, speaking of my military obligations, how will I be personally contributing to raiding? Will I show up to certain raids or whenever I feel like it? So, yeah, I have military obligations. It depends on my work schedule, of course, just like anybody else that's going to be playing the game. I can tell you that since I've been running the guild Murmur, I've been in the military, and I've had pretty strong attendance throughout that time. There have been periods of time where I have to miss a raid or a week or something like that. But we have enough leadership. I have a co-GM this time around. I'm not running the guild by myself. I'm delegating a lot more responsibility to officers. I have a bigger officer team. So I'm not really concerned with my ability to commit. But like, for example, me playing a druid would be better for me in that avenue, right? I won't have to worry about, I'll just be a bear or a wrestler druid, whatever the guild needs. You guys won't require me to be at every raid because we'll have so many people that are able to raid lead. So here's another thing. Like, you guys have to understand that this guild has been around since 2007. Every class leader, every main tank, every raid leader, every co-GM that we've ever had in this guild, it might be playing with us. That is a lot of experience, a lot of leadership. Some of these guys might not be officer positions, but they have the capability to do these tasks. We have a skilled group of people here. This isn't all like fresh people from retail. These are people that know the game.
And also, a lot of us have private server experience, which isn't 100% accurate, but in terms of game sense and everything, there's going to be a lot of people in the guild who are experienced with vanilla already and don't have to learn from a.
JGam asks, in response to another wing question, Murmur was EU focused. Do you have any estimate on what percentage NA to EU is right now? So I don't really agree with that. Our guild's always been NA. There have been a large percentage of EU players. I wouldn't agree with that. So the guild that's going to be going to EU is going to be called Immersion, I'm assuming, and they're going to be running over there. I would say we have maybe 3 or 4 European guys that are going to come with us, even though they're splitting up. I mean, I don't know what else you want me to answer on that topic. Anybody else have any other questions?
How hardcore are you wanting to be on PvP? I know you've said that you want many people to be rank 14, but in regards to, like, let's say we're about to zone into Blackwing Lair or whatnot, and then suddenly there's like an opposing alliance guild that just happens to be showing up as well. Are you going to start telling people to zone out of Blackwing Lair so that we can decimate this alliance guild, or are you going to be like, we'll deal with it later?
It depends. Situationally. It depends on, like,
Depends on how much we hate them.
well, it's more than that. If it's a strategic thing to do. Like, is it the right call? Like, should we be trying to push bosses, or should we be trying to push honor? During the honor grind, I expect people to take breaks from raiding to just farm honor. Like, I'm not gonna hold that against them. But I think we're gonna have PvP teams that are gonna be outside giving us that information, and if it correlates with what time commitments we're gonna do, like, for example, if we're trying to get BWL clear before raid time ends, and there's a raid outside that we can gank, and it's like 30 minutes till raid end, I'm probably not going to if we have like 3 or 4 bosses left. But if it's the beginning of raid and we don't have world buffs, with world buffs, I'm probably not going to do like risk those for any reason. But if we don't have world buffs and they do, then there's potential, yeah, especially. It's unfortunate. Any other questions? GKP, yeah, we'll schedule these for holidays and stuff to encourage attendance. Traditionally, we've done GKPs over Christmas, Thanksgiving, stuff like that. Just keep people online, you know, or encourage them to log in for raids. So yeah, that'll be a thing. I'm talking about like internal guild like run GKPs where all the members are guild mates. And it's cool like thing to do. It lets you kind of take loot council in your own hands. You can decide on an item if it drops, and then it gives people gold to spend after the holidays for progression, because maybe they're not farming during the holidays like they would normally. Anything else?
To the female in here, I think your name's Cecilia. Was that all your questions? Apologies.
You're not the first person to say Cecilia.
I'm a crew chief.
No, I'm good.
in the
I'm good.
military.
I've got all my questions out. Anything
I'm a
else
crew
that I
chief
have,
in
I'll
Veracruz.
just ask Kurthos or somebody else in private. But for the most part, I got everything out.
I mean, I'm not gonna hold if you miss a holiday. I'm not gonna hold it against you. You're gonna miss raid for a holiday, but typically we're gonna treat like holidays that the federal government gives you
I have a
time
question.
off for. Okay, what's up?
Looking at the spreadsheet, it seems like there's a lot more people that want to play a certain class. How exactly are we going to divvy that out for like what the guild needs and being a part of the guild?
So, like I was saying before, I was saying like you're gonna have another roster that's gonna come out, or you're gonna have to narrow that choice down. This is just so that I know what you're interested in playing, and then on a case by case basis, I may ask like, "Hey, you chose warrior on the new roster. Can you play a shaman? Because you said you'd play a shaman." So I'm gonna use both rosters and kind of pick and choose. Like try to talk to people and then get everybody, you know, kind of on the same page, and we'll create our raid teams or optimal rosters that way. But you also have to consider that, I don't know, maybe if we're talking about turnover rates and things like that, you know, 25% of these people may not ever hit 60, or you know, we don't know. Like this is on paper. This is not. To speak to exactly what we're going to have in Classic, like on the first week we're raiding. Like how fast people level, turnover rates, burnout rates, you know, real life could pop up for somebody. I don't know that this is going to be reality. We just have to hope it is, and just, you know, this is all we can plan for. But I'm going to be doing recruitment in game as well. But I'm going to base our recruitment off of that first roster, that new roster that's going to come out sometime in the end of July. I'm going to give Balsa a shout out on Twitch.
What's up, guys?
Greetings.
He's mortal.
What brings you here?
Just chilling.
Are you weary from your travels, friend?
Saw Kurthos post a
Shout out to It's
officer
Good.
Twitch meeting clip. Figure guys find out what all the ruckus is about.
Oh, there's a clip?
Yeah, there's a clip from the last
Like a
meeting.
2-hour-long clip, yeah.
Oh, it's a 2-hour. I thought it was.
Oh, here's a question. How do you plan on recruiting Hobbs?
Who?
Hobbs?
Like WoW Hobbs?
Yes, like the legendary classic
I
WoW
don't
Hobbs.
want to play with that guy.
Why would you? He doesn't want to raid.
Sounds like this is winding down here.
Yeah, we're done. And if people keep asking questions, we can keep answering them for people who want to ask.
What about a hamster wheel or Fitz?
I don't want to play with either of those idiots.
Are we gonna play with Soda Poppin' again? Like back on Warsong?
No, I don't want to play with that guy either. I don't want to play with any fucking like these content creators. The only person I play with is probably Scarm. That guy. He was actually. So we're talking to the guild that he's gonna play with. We were talking to them about merging into us for a West Coast team, but they backed out. But oh well.
Has Final Boss asked anything of you guys, or
Not
just kind of like do your
not
thing?
yet. Yeah. So it's autonomous. Like we're autonomous from them in terms of how we run the guild. We're just using their branding, and then they'll have more hands-on for streaming and social media. But it's our game for WoW Classic. We're gonna probably be pretty open to recruiting people from that community, but of course, like to get a core rank will take a certain amount of commitment and expectation.
So the guild name in the game will be called Final Boss.
Yes, and we'll change the guild Discord as well.
Cool.
Murmur had a good run, but rip.
Rip Shadow Labs.
But like all heart murmurs, it has died.
Do they have any brand awareness in terms of people knowing who they are that could help with recruitment when you make new recruitment posts?
Yeah, and that'll be there on the social media side of things. It's something that we have to work out still in some aspects, but it's something I'm tracking.
I mean, how I'm seeing it is it's better than what Murmur had when it comes to public relations.
I mean,
it was nothing.
And think of it this way: like, let's say we try this out with these guys, with this community, and we feel it's not working. We don't lose anything. You know, they don't lose anything from using us as long as we're running the guild successfully, they don't lose anything for their brand either. It's a mutually beneficial thing. It's not a concept. It's not I don't think it's gonna hurt us by trying this.
The only loss is really the name Murmur. That's it.
But even then, what does that take? It takes a new guild charter.
And burning of merch.
Well, for merging, we're just picking up their members that are interested in playing Classic. And like I said, it's a multi-game community, so it's not all of their members. It's just we're a new branch for them, if that makes sense.
They have a retail welcome.
I think they did, or they do. I don't know. I have to talk to them.
Is the final boss that I'm thinking of like Halo 2 final boss? Like,
So yeah, so they talked to the Halo final boss team, and then they got permission to use the name because that team disbanded.
Different.
Yeah, that team disbanded, so they're gonna use it now.
To know a lot of those guys. I'd be surprised.
Big Deal Bone can talk about it if he wants to, but I'm not gonna make him. He's the guy. He's the guy behind the scenes for that for final boss. So. There'll be more details and stuff to come out. Especially, I plan on having anybody who plans on streaming, plan on having a big meeting on that. Also, I want to have a big tank meeting, and then I'm sure class leaders are probably going to want to get people together for something at some point before launch. But until launch, or go ahead.
I would say I want to talk to you after the meeting about something.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Hanky, I don't know, man. You gotta talk to them. As far as what I need from you guys, though, is just keep recruiting, keep trying to get people, involved with the guild. Try to, if you have friends from back in retail vanilla, get them involved, get them informed on the guild. The more, like, if everybody recruits one guy, we have 260 people on the roster. That's significant.
Download Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
And get into shape now, so you could, pack on the pounds when the game comes out. You don't gotta worry about eating habits and stuff. So, for the next 3 months, just keep it in the gym. I'd recommend.
Yeah.
Gotta be a hottie with a body like Freck.
Last thing we need is we're mid pull on fucking Rag, and you have a blood clot in your leg. Look, Tank died because you couldn't heal him anymore because you're dead in real life.
That's why my push to talk is a pedal. Keep the blood flowing.
Yeah, but pedals are a thing. But yeah, I mean, get your real life in order. Think about meal prepping, shit like that for leveling. Get work a few extra shifts here and there while you can, because when it comes out, you're fucking done. Take an extra class for the summer semester. Do whatever you can.
Go to Walmart, pick up a couple of packs of socks.
There you go.
What?
I think she's hinting at poop socks.
Yeah, poop socking.
Ew.
I'm old school. I keep a bucket.
I just dissolve the shit in my body.
Yeah, I don't poop.
I've evolved that far.
I just don't poop anymore.
You just evolved.
I digest things so hard that nothing comes out.
I guess
That just evaporates.
Stream right now. I don't poop, and that's all they.
All right, I'm gonna swap over to another channel, and then if nobody else has any other questions or anything, and then probably play Warcraft 3 for a few hours. But some people have some questions for me, so I'm gonna mute stream and talk about it with them.
Have fun.
Download Warcraft 3 because we're trying to. So there's a game in Warcraft 3. It's like raiding. We need more people for our raid team, and
How many more people do you need?
Wait, are you talking about the Burning Crusade mod that I showed you?
no, we're talking about possible bosses, dude. It's way fucking harder.
Oh, fuck that one. I know you. Okay.
Is that like Dota?
How hard is that shit to learn?
It's not that
If
hard.
you've never played it.
You never
Super
played? Have
hard.
you ever played League of Legends, or you ever played?
Yeah,
Dota?
yeah.
Then you're fine. You'll be alright.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
You can buy keys for You can buy keys for $12 or something, or $8 for Warcraft 3. You don't even need a Frozen Throne key. Frozen Throne key as the next patch, or the patch that just came out. I don't know. You can just buy Arena Chaos, and it's enough to play the game. We got the social media representative from Final Boss, and our Twitch chat saying Final Boss will announce more details regarding streamers as soon, etc. If you need to talk to me, PM me and we'll hash it out.